Be honest with me for a second. Are you spending your entire life just grinding away for a paycheck, but still feeling like actual financial freedom is a million miles away? It's a painful reality, isn't it? I mean, we're taught from a super young age exactly how to earn a paycheck, but we're almost never taught how to build a system. So we end up stuck in this endless rat race, literally counting down the days until the first of the month, only to watch all that money instantly vanish to bills. So, I've got to ask you a really critical question today. Are you working for money, or is money working for you?
Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip your perspective. We are moving away from that passive worker mentality that keeps you trapped on the hamster wheel, and we're stepping right into the active leader mindset, the one that actually builds enduring wealth. We're going to break down the core rules of success from some top-tier modern financial philosophies, and mostly, we'll see exactly why building a system will absolutely crush a standard salary every single time.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the illusion of time and busyness. Then, we'll ask if your phone is a weapon or a toy. Third, we'll look at building your system, not a salary. Fourth, why strong habits will always win over motivation. And finally, number 5, the true mindset of a leader.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the illusion of time and busyness. You know, there's this age-old myth that just being constantly busy means you're making progress. Let's bust that right now.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it visualizes the ultimate equalizer, which is time. Think about it. Every single person on Earth, from someone working a minimum wage job to a literal billionaire, has the exact same 24 hours in a day. The difference in where they end up? It doesn't come from having more time. It comes entirely from intention. Are those hours disappearing into a black hole of mindless scrolling and reactive tasks? Or are they being proactively invested to build something bigger?
'Cause being busy and being productive? Yeah, totally different things. Honestly, being busy is a lot like running on a treadmill. You're putting in a massive amount of effort. You're sweating, you're totally exhausted by the end of the day, but your destination hasn't changed at all. You're standing in the exact same spot. True productivity, as productivity expert G.D. Pandey points out, is really about identifying and completely eliminating that meaningless, redundant work. It's about breaking free from the paralysis of waiting for the perfect moment and just focusing on the messy, imperfect actions that actually drive results.
Which brings us to section 2. Your phone. Is it your weapon, or is it just a toy?
Listen, before we can even think about building systems, we've got to clear the noise, and that means adopting what's called digital minimalism. We live in an incredibly loud, chaotic world, right? So digital minimalism is the intentional practice of taking back your focus, your concentration, and honestly, your peace of mind. It's about recognizing exactly when you need to step back so you can actually think clearly and avoid totally burning out.
So I've got a slightly uncomfortable question for you. Is your phone actually making you money, or is it just an incredibly expensive toy that's eating away at your future? Because from the second we wake up and unlock our screens, our paths completely diverge. One person uses that exact same piece of glass and metal to learn, to network, and to build their future. Meanwhile, another person loses an hour, poof, like it never even existed, just doom scrolling through notifications. Your phone is either a massive asset for growth or a huge liability. There's really no in between.
Pioneers like Bill Gates realized this super early on. He knew technology wasn't just some tool for passive entertainment. It was this monumental opportunity to build enduring systems. He famously warned that businesses not on the internet would absolutely struggle to survive. The internet is literally a massive lever. The successful use it to scale their value, while the unsuccessful just use it to pass the time.
Okay, moving on to section 3, build your system, not your salary. Let's really deconstruct this financial reality.
Here is the core difference we need to talk about. The salary mindset is a life spent just waiting for the first of the month. Sure, you get a temporary sense of security, but the absolute second you stop working, the money completely stops. Bam, gone. It's just this endless cycle of trading your physical time for cash. The system mindset, however, that is focused on building assets, audiences, or brands. It's about creating continuous value that operates and generates income way after you've logged off for the day.
Let's be brutally honest here.
If your income requires your constant, unyielding physical presence just to survive, you haven't really built a business. You've kind of just become your own overworked laborer. You are simultaneously the employee and the boss of a super demanding job. The wealthiest entrepreneurs out there, whether they're coding software or shipping physical products, they know that growth isn't about just clocking more hours. It's about building the processes, the rules, and the teams so the system eventually outgrows their physical limitations.
Let's slide right into Section 4. Strong habits will win, not motivation. We really need to dismantle this modern obsession we have with motivation. We all do it, right? We consume these flashy motivational videos, we get this sudden, massive rush of energy, but then, like 3 days later, we're right back to our old excuses. Why does that happen? Because motivation is exactly like a fire. It burns incredibly bright, it looks super impressive, but it dies out so quickly. Habits and systems, on the other hand, they're like coal. They might not be as flashy or exciting, but they burn slowly and give you steady, long-lasting heat. Successful people do not rely on the fire. They build a solid foundation of coal.
Just like G.D. Pandey explores in his writings, the actual science of productivity proves that waiting around for inspiration is a total trap. You have got to stop waiting for the mood to strike. Instead, implement strict daily routines. Just focus entirely on micro habits. We're talking about a 1% daily improvement. That's it. While everyone else is busy talking about their big, world-changing ideas, you're just quietly executing small, disciplined steps. And over time, that compounding discipline is always going to outpace someone else's raw, temporary willpower. For sure.
And that leads us perfectly to our final part, Section 5, the true mindset of a leader. Let's pull all these concepts together.
Look, stepping out of that traditional, safe, follower or employee mentality, it's terrifying. When you start building systems instead of just taking orders, you're almost definitely going to run into imposter syndrome. It's this deep, nagging self-doubt in your new role. And you know what? Acknowledge it. Pandey frames this as a completely natural psychological hurdle when you transition from executing someone else's plan to finally creating your own. Just don't let it kill your momentum.
Because ultimately there is a very distinct line in the sand here. Steve Jobs championed this kind of philosophy. Leaders are the ones out there hacking through the brush with a machete to forge a completely new path. A follower, on the other hand, merely executes what others dictate. They're totally content to just walk in a circle on a trail someone else already cleared. Leaders innovate. They look for the gaps and they build the very structures that everyone else will eventually work inside of. And this brilliantly illustrates that really surprising truth from Steve Jobs. True leadership and effective system building isn't just about endlessly adding more and more tasks to your plate. Actually, it is just as important, maybe even more important, to know exactly what not to do. Success requires the ruthless elimination of the unnecessary. You have to hyper-focus your energy and your team's energy on the systems that actually move the needle.
There's actually this famous kind of funny thought process among brilliant tech founders. The idea goes, if you have a tremendously hard job to do, give it to the absolute laziest person in your office. Why? Because that lazy person is going to stop, think, and find the absolute easiest, most automated way to get it done without breaking a sweat. Real growth comes from smart thinking and system creation. It doesn't come from just blindly running on that exhausting treadmill we talked about earlier.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Imagine a woodcutter, right? He's relentlessly swinging an axe at a tree for 10 hours straight. But if he never once stops to actually sharpen the blade, he's just going to end up totally exhausted, making zero progress. Well, your life is the exact same way. If you are just blindly taking action every single day for a paycheck, you are swinging a painfully dull axe. So I have to ask you, when are you stepping off the treadmill to actually sharpen your system? Stop just chasing money and start building the machine that makes it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really hope this sparks the shift you need to start building your own systems today. Catch you next time.